Hey, day two. So I'm going to start with the gate because I'm going to use this stump here as my well, not as my tensioner, but as the starting point to run everything along there down to that post. And so the reason I'm going to start with the gate is so that I know that that's going to work and have that kind of finish in case I need to use the chainsaw to flatten it out any for the gate. I may not need to. I don't know how well you can see this. Let me set the tripod down and use the tilt pin here. So I may be able to get away with just going in here and going in here and use the length of the hinge bolt to offset and everything. I'm going to try that first, I think, which means I just need to use the auger bit, drill into it, set it, and see if I can adjust the hinge bolt in or out to make it hang relatively even. Now I'm sticking with my 8-foot gate that I bought rather than going for the 10-foot. Two reasons, maybe more. The first reason is because I have it. I don't have to run back to Tractor Supply to exchange and do all that to continue working. I can just put this up. I can always swap it out later if I want to. And I guess that's really the only reason. It's not that the 10-footer wouldn't be better. It probably will be, but I can put this one up now and I can always just sink another T-post there and put a little bit of either mesh or something in between there. I don't have to stretch the barbed wire and go through all of that just to fill in that gap. I can do that easily. Then the fencing will be done. Keep the cows away from my brand new shiny solar panels. Don't they look so great? Love them. And then I can always modify it later. So that's what I'm going to start with, and come along for the ride. All right. So here's why I wanted to do it before I started working on the barbed wire again. So I had to take the chainsaw and flatten out this part in order to get it to be square enough for me to then set the bolts and use the position of the bolts to get it to where it's mostly level. It swings pretty good. Got to get some rocks out of the way and move a little stub from the trunk there, but it swings, it works, it's functional. And now I can continue with the rest of the barbed wire. All right. Okay, I'm gonna try and explain what I'm doing with this one. I've got the third row of barbed wire attached at that end, and I've spooled it out. So I've got the slack here. So I wanted to show you what I'm doing, what I've learned to do anyway, as I've gone on with this. Feel free, if you see me making mistakes, to correct me, to give me some feedback in the comments. Otherwise, I hope this is informative and gives someone watching a glimpse into how this is done, because I didn't know before I went to YouTube University, and so hopefully I can help contribute to that material. I also hope that this segment of the video isn't flagged by YouTube, because I've got Imagination Dragons playing in the background, and sometimes if they hear too much of it, they'll flag it for copyright infringement, blah, 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 blah. So I'm hoping that it's quiet enough and that I'll be making enough noise that it won't get flagged. If not, I will dub over this part, which you won't hear me say. I'll say it in the dub that I'm dubbing over this part because of, you get it. All right, so the first thing is I've got a lot of slack in this, so I just want to kind of tug it tight. I don't want to tug it too tight because being the third row, it's gonna get snagged on the stuff down there. I just want to get as much slack out of it as I can, reasonable, so I can then put my tensioner tool on it, which looks like this. Borrowed this from my neighbor. He lent it to me. give you a quick explanation. It's a ratcheting tool, okay? So you pull on this, it advances, catches the teeth, advances. It's just like a clamp, right? Put this on one end, put that, and it cinches it down. So it's got teeth on both ends here. Show you these. So that open up, put the wire in that, it clamps down on that. So as you pull it, it pulls it, it keeps it in there. Okay, there's one on this end too. So if you're working either way, makes sense, right? So I have this fully extended because I want to give myself as much room to work with as possible. And I'll open up the teeth here. And this is where having an extra pair of hands wouldn't be a bad idea. But with the girls, with the barbed wire, it's just too dangerous for their handling just yet. I'd love to teach them up and train them up on it, but not this time. So you pick a spot relatively close to where you're gonna do the tensing. You put the wire in like that, let the teeth go. It's gonna probably slide up to that next barb, so might as well put it close to that next barb, whichever way the tension's gonna be pulling on it. Then you just put it on the post where you want it. Of course, I'm snagging myself here. And you pull it tight as much as you can. Now, I may not have enough on this one. I may need to pull it more. Yeah, so I didn't pull this one enough tight enough. All right. So it's on there, it's gonna stay. It's gonna stay there for a second because I gotta go down here. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's still slacking, it's catching. So I'm just gonna go down and kind of help it get past some of those lines. Just got it cut off. And so again, I'm not sure how well you can see the trunk there, but the T-post is further out, so it kind of takes a bend. So I got to get it past that first T-post usually as I'm tensing it up. And you know, it's not wrong, it's just what it is. So anyway, come back here. So this is obviously loose again, so we gotta tension it back up. So how much tension you put on this, I don't know if there's like a prescribed formula or not, but you get the idea. When you start looking down your barbed wire, if it's slack and sagging a lot, it's probably got a little bit more to go. These are high tension wires, so you can put a lot of stretch on them, and they shouldn't snap unless there's like a defect in manufacturing. You shouldn't see that. But also remember, you're going to be putting braces on the T-post, and we'll get to that. So you don't need to get rid of all the sag, but you should get rid of most of it, and just kind of look down your line and see if it's for the most part straight and level. The other thing you want to look at is where you're at here, and I'll bring the camera closer here in a second, and how well can you make this turn so that you can wrap it and put enough, keep the tension on it, because as soon as you take this off, there's going to be a lot of snapback. Now, something I did yesterday that I'm not doing today is I would get it spooled out to the right length, and then I would cut off the spool. Well, that was a big mistake because it would just coil back and make a mess, and I probably wasted, I'd say I probably total wasted an hour over the 4 different lines undoing that. And I thought that was because I needed to do it before doing the tension, and I just hadn't thought that through. Once the tensioner is on there, then cut it, because then it's not going to snap back on you and get all tangled and stuff. Just make sure that when you do it, and like I said, I'll bring it closer, that you have enough room to wrap around the post, wrap it, and secure it, okay? So I'm going to cut it now, then I'll bring the camera closer once I get the tensioner off, and show, well, once I get ready to wrap it, take the tensioner off, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm just pulling this tight to see how much I need. I give myself an eyeball mark and then a little extra slack. Barbed wire isn't expensive enough yet to worry about every single inch. It's an expendable expense, if that makes sense. I highly recommend getting the fencing tool. It's special. It has clippers that can snap these, has staple pullers so that when you're stapling in there, a staple hammer and tools. I got one. Some people say you don't need them, and you don't. You know, as long as you got a good heavy duty set of wire cutters and stuff, but it's like 15 bucks. Pick it up. It will save you some time. All right. Let's bring this over here. Hopefully it'll be a good angle to see what I'm doing. Tilt the camera down here, and I'll try and stay out of the way. So, still got the tensioner on it. Probably gonna give it one more. There we go. Just one more for good measure. So, I'm gonna pull this. Want to be kind of close to this. This is kind of my guide. Gonna pull this to make sure that that tension stays on it as I wrap it around. All right. And then I'm basically just gonna wrap this around itself. So whether you go over or under, I don't think totally matters. As long as you do it as kind of tight and with as much tension as you can. And remember, it's all gonna, once you take that tensioner off, it's gonna kind of snap back on you anyway. So do it the best you can and as secure as you can. All right. So don't worry if that loop's a little loose, okay? Because it's going to, trust me, it'll tighten back up. Then you basically just loop this around several times. And once you get it around a couple times, enough for it to hold, you can take the tensioner off and it'll be easier doing the wrap. How tight you do the wrap, like as far as how close you put the wrap together, like do you do like a big loop, you know, out, or do you try and do like right around? I'm sure there's all sorts of differences of opinion on that, and I'm sure there's all sorts of technical answers on that. I've been doing what I would say are moderate to loose wraps, and so far no problems. I also like to do a turn back, so I get down to where there's a barb and then do a sharp turn back and wrap partially away back around the other direction to finish it off. The reality is, you put enough loops around here between the barbs and the friction of the wire itself and the amount of tension that it's under, it ain't gonna just magically uncoil on you. All right, so don't worry about that. So that's wrapped. We'll go ahead and take the tensioner off. And you see how it kind of just snaps back there, and it's on. And I didn't lose hardly any tension on it. You can take your tool, grab the end of that wire, and just try to give it a little extra wrap if you want, or if you can. At that point, it's more just an aesthetic than anything else. And boom, the wire is on. Now, we will go back once the fourth wire is on this. We will go down and we will attach the T-post braces. I'll show you on this one what it looks like. These little guys on, and they're really simple to turn, and they just kind of help brace to the T-post, keep it from swaying and sagging too much over time. So I'm gonna get this fourth one strung up, and we'll put the braces on that, and then we're done with this side. Okay, so the final step is to attach these braces to the T-posts. Got one right here. They come in bags usually. Tractor Supply, you buy a bundle of 5, they give you a bag. You can buy the bag separate if you run out. I have a bunch of extra ones of these because I find them useful for all sorts of things. They're pretty simple to use. Again, there's a special tool that is made that makes this easier, I guess. I don't really have a problem using just a regular pair of good needle nose pliers, but it's really simple. You take this hook part, put it on the wire, you put it around the T-post. Okay, just to give you an idea. So this part here goes around the back, the base of the T, all right? And then you go under on this side, and then you want to get this lip, or this part, on top, and grab it like so, and then just bend it around. Okay, it'll self-tighten as you do this. And that one's not very tight, but it's also not going anywhere. So that's it. So this row is now done, as you can see, all the way down, all 4. Now I'm using 4 rows. Some say use 5. I think the density of how many you use is dependent on a couple of factors of how far apart your spacing is, but also mainly about what animals are you trying to control. You want to put more if you're trying to control smaller animals, because you need to put them closer to the ground and less wiggle room for them to go through. I'm just trying to keep cattle out of the panel, so 4 is more than enough. I probably could have gotten away with 3. In fact, I think in my head, as I was budgeting the project for how much I needed for everything, I figured I was only going to do 3. I've got enough to do the 4 going around, so I might as well do it. And I think it kind of looks aesthetically better too. So that's that. I've got just that part to do there between that tree and that tree. You can see the T-post in the middle. We'll close this off, and then I got to drive another T-post to where the gate's going to meet to that tree, and I'll either do barbed wire because I've got it, or I'll get some of the wire mesh that I have, or even chicken wire. It doesn't really need to be anything other than a deterrent for the cattle to not be able to sneak through there. I could probably even leave it open and they wouldn't be able to squeeze through, but I'll go ahead and close it up anyway. So I'm going to get at finishing this up. Then we'll do a walk around, and I'll try to remember some of the other lessons that I learned, observations, so on and so forth. So I'm going to get at it. All right. Okay, I think we are done. Got that part done, as you can see. Got a functioning gate here. Like I said, just use a T-post here and some of the wire mesh that we got just to fill it in. Oops, little cittering. Not gonna go nuts with the locking mechanism on the gate right now, just because it doesn't need to be. So we'll just do a simple chain. More than sufficient. All that's done. As you can see, it goes all the way down. And I think it has sufficient space between the barbed wire and the actual panels. So I don't think that'll be an issue. So here, I'm going to take you guys off the tripod. Hold on. That way I can hold you and walk you around without that. Anyway, so things that I may not have covered in the rest of the video, or I feel are important enough to go over again. I'm gonna walk down here to the T-post, or not the T-post, the corner post, and show you what we got going on here. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna link to the YouTube video where I saw this idea with using the rebar rather than screws or nails to do this cross membering. It's one of those things of you kind of pick your poison. I kind of like the rebar idea because it will eventually wear down, I guess, but so will anything. And this one was easy enough to put together, and that way I didn't have to worry about having extra tools, either the right size nails, which I don't have that great of luck with nails personally, unless I'm using a nail gun, and even then not so much. Don't have to worry about using galvanized because the post being pressure treated or anything like that. These will eventually give out, there's no doubt, but they're going to last quite a long time. Something I was thinking of as I was working on that end, I did end up cutting one of my wraps too short. And if you do that, you can use staples. In fact, you should use staples here and there. Got them here. I only had electrical NM staples for putting up NM electrical wire. But they're staples. They're still holding just fine. You can see here. Let me hold this. They hold just fine. They bite into the wood just like any other staple. And those are just mainly to take some slack off or to help a little bit. Down there, I had to use them because I cut the wraparound too short, and I actually didn't make it all the way around the tree trunk, so I used staples. It's holding just fine. Use what you got as much as you can. I was able to use nature a lot with the tree stumps, so I didn't have to make as many corner posts. Some things people can judge me on. For the posts, I did not dig them super deep. I basically went the length of my auger, unless I ran into a really stubborn rock. I didn't spend a whole lot of time getting too deep. I got down about 2.5 feet. These are 6.5 foot pole posts. I put it in, centered it, used one bag of quick set concrete, let it set up, and it's gonna hold. Again, I really want to get into this. There are certain things that you have to do because they're the way you do them, because time and error has proven over and over again that that's the way you do it, that's the way it lasts. But remember that everything is situational, and everybody has an acceptable threshold of risk. So realize what you're doing. Now, if I was making a barn and setting posts to support weight or a roof or anything like that, yeah, I'm going to do things differently, but I'm not. I'm supporting one corner of a barbed wire fence that's meant to keep cows away from my solar array. So I guess what I'm saying is learn the right way. Go ahead and read all of the articles that you want to. Get a well-rounded feel for all of the different opinions that are out there on how to do things. And then decide for yourself what you're comfortable with. Again, like I said in a previous video, don't let anyone else tell you what you're doing is wrong. If it works for you. Now, I welcome people telling me what I've done wrong for the feedback, especially if there's something that I'm doing wrong from a safety standpoint. If I'm lacking a bit of information, I can't make a good decision, or it leads me to make a poor decision. Now, that's not to say once I have all of the information, or if someone offers me some more information, I can incorporate that into what I know and I can think about it. I might make the same decision, but at least it gives me another bit of information to chew on. I feel very comfortable with everything I've done. It's going to hold. I also feel comfortable with redoing parts of it if it fails. And that's what we all have to do. That's life. I'm sorry, that's living. And I think I see too many people never take the steps forward because they're constantly worried about making the right steps. Move forward, even if that means that you might have to take a step back and move forward again, or you move forward and realize, oh, I need to step to the side and then I can move forward. Don't let fear and don't let things intimidate you. Okay? With that, this project's done. I am now going to move on to probably the electrical side, to make sure that when the guys come to install the batteries and actually hook up the array and plug it into my system, that they're not waiting on me to finish up doing anything. So that will be my project as this week goes on. I will also be trying to get caught up on the videos because new job and work and life, and sometimes doing this, you got to balance how much time you spend making the videos and doing the editing and processing and getting them uploaded versus how much you're actually doing the work. Also against how much time you take for you and your family that's not being documented, that's not project oriented, that's just family time. You got to take those times as well. So with that, we will end this video and this adventure and move on to the next. So until next time, God be with you all in all that you do. And remember, keep the faith and keep up the fight. Bye.